Hey, Jonathan here at the Colfax High Wood Shop and Mill. Today I was going to use MasterCam and my Forest Scientific CNC router to cut out a trophy base like this out of a block of wood like this. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to cut those pockets. Okay, I just want to go over how you'd make a trophy base like this on the CNC router. So beautiful block of wood, really clean. These are both pockets of multiple depths. The first thing you really do before you make a trophy like this is you get your stock and you just kind of lay it out first. Then you figure out what tools you're going to use, what CNC you're going to use, and what cutter. Probably the best cutter to use on this is a large 1/2-inch flat end mill with 4 flutes and probably a up spiral bit. Because I'm taking out so much wood, I want those chips to come up and out. So I sketch it out first to make sure it matches the trophy. There are 2 different dimensions. One is your depth, and then the second is your diameter. So this top pocket right here is a 6-inch diameter, so a depth of a 1/4 inch. And then the second one is 4 3/8 inch diameter for an additional 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm just going to run through that in MasterCam really quick, how you would program that and cut it out. So everything in MasterCam, you really start with what type of machine you're using. We're using the router Techno Servo. If this isn't selected, your post won't work. And then once I have my machine type, then I go to my properties, stock setup. The best way to set this stock up is the center rather than the lower left-hand corner. A block of wood is 10 by 10 and then 2 inches thick. I'm calling the top of stock 0, so I'm going to go down into it by negative values. If I want to display, see that on my screen, I click display. F9 are my Cartesian coordinate axes, and now I'm ready to start drawing. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an arc from the center point. I'm going to just snap it here. I'm going to do the larger circle first. It's a 6-inch diameter, so I set that diameter at 6 and click. Green check mark is done. Up here is fit screen. I'm going to go to create arc, circle from a center point. This is my smaller circle. It's 4 3/8 of an inch diameter, so 4 space 3/8. It'll take that fractional measurement and convert it. And that's really the end of my geometry. I do need to think about machining this first. I'm going to actually do this larger circle first. And then I'm going to do the second circle next. I am going to kind of spend a little bit of time cutting through air for the top 1/4 inch. Again, I'm going to use a 1/2-inch flat end mill. My geometry is all done. So I go to tool path. This is going to be a pocket. I name that pocket. I'm going to select it with the chain. The compensation type and direction of travel is not important because the definition of a pocket is inside the line. So I'm going to pocket that. Now I'm going to set my parameters for cutting. The tool, again, is going to be a 1/2 inch straight bit. I'm going to set this at, I think, 120, 60. So that's my feed rate. It's kind of fast, but there's going to be a lot of overlap when it runs. And then plunge rate's half that. I work my way down this column. Nothing to do there. Cut parameters. This right here is how much of an overlap I could set. Roughing, finishing. I want my final pass to be finished, so that'll make a nice clean cut. Lead in, lead out is deselected already because it's a pocket. Depth of cut, I select this even though I do this more as a safety. 0.5 is a lot. Breakthrough, linking parameters, and these are all absolute. And then this is the larger circle, right? So that larger circle is to a depth of negative 0.25. So there's my first tool path. It's kind of hard for me to see my second tool path. I go over here, and this will make it non-visible. Again, I'm going to go to tool path pocket. As a chain, I'm going to select that inside circle. Tool, it is a 1/2 inch straight bit. I'm going to go 120, 60. Holder, cut parameters. This should hold all my previous settings. These are different ways I could cut that pocket out. And now I have the same depth. I have the same height. So this one I'm actually going to go negative 1 inch. For the first part of it, the first 1/4 inch, it's going to cut just through there. Everybody good on all those settings? It's a lot to go down a 1/2 inch though. I think I'm actually going to go back here to depth of cut, and I'm going to set this more like 0.4. It'll actually do equal amounts, but now it's going to do 1/3 of an inch on each pass. So better to be safe. So only one of these is selected. That'll select them both. Those are my tool paths. I want to verify it, make sure it looks right. I verify it in an isometric view. I want to make sure it cuts the wider circle first. It did. And then the second circle. So that all looks good. I'm going to save that file, and then I go to G1 and I post it. I got to double check it here, Techno Step, that's correct. I'm going to put it on the flash drive. And then what it's doing now is taking all that vector information, which is a tremendous amount, because I'm cutting these pockets, and it's converting it into G code. And then here's my code here, just like the code we wrote, right? Rapid travel to that coordinate, G90, G80. And then you can see here, because there's so much tool pathing, this has 920 lines of code. All right, well, let's go out in the shop and run this part. There it is on the flash drive, loaded it onto the computer that actually drives the Forest Scientific. I have it down with plywood cleats, double-sided tape. There's my 1/2 inch flat end up spiral bit. I also have a vacuum table, so I'm going to turn that on as well. And I'm going to put the dust shroud on